we've seen some huge deals happen in the Premier League this month. So me and Zach are going to pick some of the players and debate who will be more successful this season. And we're going to start with goalkeepers. I've gone with Onana, and I think that makes most sense. You know, he's been an incredible signing for Manchester United. They bought him for a lot of money. And I think in terms of goalkeepers with the ball at their feet, I don't think that there's a keeper that is much better than him. He seems like an amazing leader. He's done a lot of the post-match interviews, so you can tell that he doesn't mind being in the limelight as well. And I think he's going to help the defence, you know, get a bit better in terms of the ball to their feet. They haven't been used to that at Manchester United, so I think that that's going to be a great signing for them.
It's going to be a great signing, I do agree. However, the key word there about it is about who's going to have the most successful season. And David Raya joined Arsenal, and I think Arsenal in general compared to Manchester United are going to have the better season. This is somebody that's going to provide fantastic competition for Ramsdale in goal. And obviously, this is someone who as well, along with Onana, was one of the most sought-after goalkeepers in the transfer window. I think Chelsea, Tottenham Hotspur were all linked towards him. And for the fee paid for him, I think he might be one of the best bargains as well.
Is it going to be a successful season if he doesn't play, though? Because he has to almost pip Ramsdale to be in the first team goalkeeper. Yep. And if he doesn't play, then Onana's clearly going to be the better goalkeeper.
I think there were moments last year where we saw Ramsdale have dips in form, and that can be where Raya can come in. Now, and I'm not saying Ramsdale's a bad keeper at all. I think he's fantastic. He's been brilliant over the last couple of years for Arsenal. But we've already seen Arteta talk about the competition he wants to add towards this squad. And so I think we will see him play there. Now, one of the other ones we've done is more of the DM, the defensive midfield role. I've gone for Chelsea's record signing, Moises Caicedo. I think he is somebody that's going to add so much towards Chelsea and how they're going to play in their system. Enzo Fernandez, somebody that's going to be unlocked through him as well. Who have you gone for, Sam?
I've gone for Declan Rice. I think Declan Rice is a player that, in the last few years, I did actually want him to join Chelsea as well. But I think he's going to be an incredible signing for Arsenal. If you look at the players that they've lost in terms of Xhaka and even, let's say, Onana, who's almost in and out of injury, I think he's the perfect player that is. He's a great leader. He's good at progressing the ball. He's very versatile. He can play centre-back as well. He can play in the number 8. He can play quite deep. And he seems like the type of player that almost lifts the spirits at Arsenal. And I think when they went to the last few games in last season, they needed a few characters. They do have characters, but they needed a few extra characters that, you know, will tell everyone, you know what, we're going to be good. We've got the squad. And I think he's going to be that signing that transforms their team.
Fantastic.
So the next player, this one I think is easy for me. And it's centre midfielders again, but it's more attacking midfielders. I've gone with Maddison. I think Maddison arguably is the signing of the summer, mainly because of the price that Tottenham got for him and the fact that they weren't really opposed in getting him. £40 million for a creative genius. He's probably one of the most creative players in the league as well. I think in terms of captain ability, team morale, he's going to be incredible for Spurs. And on top of that, he's hit the ground running. He's already got 2 assists. And he was incredible against Manchester United. Again,
I think James Maddison is going to be one of the bargains in summer. I do agree. But somebody, I think, for the long-term future of Manchester United, Mason Mount. I think he's somebody in this attacking role and in this kind of 8 role that Ten Hag wants him to play. It feels, I think, right now saying this, a lot of people will be watching this and obviously we've seen the game against Tottenham Hotspur. It didn't quite work out in that midfield. It's going to take time. It's only been 2 games of the season so far. And we've got to remember what happened last time with Manchester United at the beginning of the season. It took them time to get going and get them underway. I think with Mason Mount, there's going to need to be patience. There's somebody who we've seen, when he is on top form, can have seasons where he's scoring double figures in goals and contributing double figures in assists. I think patience with him and he will come good for you.
I do love Mount. I do love Mount, but I'm saying if you look at their system with Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro, I don't see how he's going to be able to thrive week in, week out. We've already seen, it's a small sample size, but we've seen in the first 2 games, it doesn't look like there's a harmony in that midfield. And for Mount to be successful, when he was successful at Chelsea, he had Kante, Jorginho behind him that was, you know, able to feed him the balls through the lines. He wasn't relied upon too much to do the defensive work. He normally started the press. And I feel like he's been asked to start the press at Manchester United, but he's also asked to do the defensive work in their final third. So I think it's gonna be a struggle. And I think Maddison's he's already hit the ground running. He's already one of their key players, vice captain as well. So I think that one's clear.
I think it will take time. It will take time. Patience, I think, is going to be needed for Mason Mount. And Maddison's injury record is also going to be questionable too, with him out at the moment. But so is Mount as well. So on to our next one, which is wingers. And I've gone for Newcastle United signing of Harvey Barnes. Now, look, with a lot of these players, I think we've spoken about potential and what could happen. With Harvey Barnes, we know what he is. He has Premier League experience. He has Premier League success as well. This is somebody whose minimum output since he's been playing properly in the Premier League for Leicester, obviously he's now at Newcastle, was at minimum 13 goals and assists in the Premier League season. That's really, really strong. To go and get that from you. Last season, he got 13 goals alone in the Premier League. For Newcastle to add that towards their left wing is such a strong person to have, not just for depth, but to be starting straight away. He can then also be somebody for depth if they want to play Isaac out there and have Callum Wilson in through the middle. I think he's somebody as well that is only 25 years old. He can be there for the next 5 years, if not longer, and just improve the squad overall. And that's what Newcastle had to do this season, was improve their squad. They're now playing in the Champions League. I think Harvey Barnes is a fantastic addition.
Yeah, I think Harvey Barnes is great, yeah, but if they had signed Moussa Diaby, I think he walked straight into their starting lineup, and that's why I think that he's the player that edges it for me in terms of the impact and the success that he's going to have this season. Last 3 seasons for Leverkusen, he's been a player that's got over 10 goals and over 10 assists for them. He's been one of their key players. He was linked with moves for years. I feel like he's been in transfer rumours for years, but he's already hit the ground running. He's already making the players around him look a lot better. And I think he's going to be one of those signings that people look back and they say, why didn't we go for him when we're looking for wide men or looking for players for the future? So I've gone with DRB. I do like Barnes as well, so I think that one's a little bit of a tight one. This one is now strikers. I've picked Nicholas Jackson and you've picked Højlund. I think Jackson, he's a bit of an unknown entity in terms of the fact that we haven't seen that many games of him. You know, he only played 26 times in La Liga, but he did score 12 goals, so that average a goal every other game. And I think the first few games that we've seen of him at Chelsea, he looks incredible. He looks like he can hold the ball up, he can drive at defenders. The first game against Liverpool, yes, he didn't score, but he was so impactful. And it was almost a breath of fresh air for Chelsea fans because they hadn't seen a striker have that impact without scoring goals. And it looks like if he's able to play with the intent that he's playing with and almost the mindset that he seems to have, he looks like he's going to be a good steal as well because he's 22 years old and it was only around £30 million that they signed him for.
Yes, well, another obviously very young striker is Rasmus Højlund, who Manchester United brought in. He's my pick. Well, you said that Jackson's barely played games. Højlund hasn't even featured yet for Manchester United. But he's somebody that I think United have needed. The striker market at the moment, we've mentioned it's all throughout this summer, it's really tough. You either have to spend over £120 million to get somebody, or you have to kind of put your hopes on somebody that is really, really young and has huge potential. And that is what Højlund has. United over the last few years have really struggled up top, and obviously they had to get Weghorst in on loan last year. Martial's had injury issues over the last few seasons and really relied on Rashford having to put the ball in the back of the net and Bruno as well doing that too. And so with Højlund, there is huge potential there. This is somebody, if he comes good, and don't get me wrong, it is an if he comes good, he could be the future for Manchester United's attack for the next 10 years.
But the sample size is smaller. I feel like...
Sample size is small, yeah.
The amount of goals, it is. I feel like both of these players, it depends on what you expect. And because we haven't seen Højlund, it's easier to say Jackson. But because we have seen Jackson, I think it's easier for me to say that. Indeed. I think he's going to be one of those players that also he can play out wide. He can drop in deep. And we saw the connection he had with Nkunku during pre-season. So I think I'm going for Jackson, but it depends.